Hello, I'm Nakia Basharuddin, and this is Nightline, the top stories. Parents confirm body found is that of Nora Ann. And Dong Zong would be violating laws if it keeps inciting people, says PM. We'll begin with our headlining story. After 10 days, the search for missing Irish teen Nora Ann Croix has come to a tragic end. Her parents, Sebastian and Maeve Croix, confirmed that the body found on Tuesday afternoon was that of their 15-year-old daughter. According to Negeri Sembilan Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Mat Yusof, the parents had positively identified the remains of their daughter.
Pihak keluarga telah dibawa ke mari untuk pengecaman mayat yang telah kita jumpai petang tadi, hari tadi, dan pihak keluarga telah mengesahkan bahawa mayat tersebut adalah Nora Ann, mangsa hilang pada sejak 4 bulan yang lepas. Jadi proses postmortem ataupun pembedahan bedah siasat ini akan dijalankan esok pagi. Dan kita akan pohon supaya senior pathologist from Kuala Lumpur untuk datang hadir untuk buat postmortem esok.
Datuk Muhammad said although the body has been identified, police will continue to be on standby for further action. He, however, did not divulge more details pending a post-mortem examination outcome. Earlier, Deputy Inspector General of Police Datuk Mazlan Manso said preliminary police probes shows that the body of a Caucasian female found along a stream at Pantai Hills near Seremban, Negeri Sembilan is that of missing Nora Ann Croix.
Well, it's about 1:57 today. One of the search and rescue team was alerted that they found a body, which is about 2 kilometers away from the resort. So the area is quite hilly, and we sent our forensic team and the pathologists to the scene of crime and confirmed there's a body there which resembles Nora, yet to be confirmed by the family. And just now the body was winched by helicopter to the hospital. We have reasonable belief that it must be him, must be her.
Datuk Mazlan said this during a media conference held near the scene on Tuesday. The body was found without any clothing, he said, but added that it was still too early to say if there were any criminal elements involved and will be known once a post-mortem examination is completed. Asked if there were any visible injuries on the body, Datuk Mazlan said this cannot be established as yet. To another question, he said it was too early to tell how many days the deceased had died or the cause of death. Datuk Mazlan also revealed that the body was found by a group of hikers who were registered volunteers participating in the search. He said the search and rescue teams had already checked the area but did not explain how they had missed it. The body was flown to the Tuanku Jaafar Hospital in Seremban for post-mortem examination. The post-mortem process is expected to be conducted on Wednesday morning. Nora Ann, 15, had checked into the property with her parents, Sebastian Marie Philippe and Maeve Jasprine Croix, and siblings Ines Julia and Maurice Arthur on August 3rd. However, she was not found in the room she shared with her siblings the following morning. A window in the room, which could only be opened from the inside, was open. A massive SAR operation was mounted by several hundred policemen, including members of the famed Sonoy Prague General Operations Force Battalion, other government agencies, Orang Asli villages, and other volunteers. Helicopters equipped with infrared radars were also deployed in the search. The family also offered a reward of 50,000 ringgit for information on Nora Ann. The girl, who is of French-Irish parentage, has learning difficulties. And the Nightline team would like to express our deepest condolences to the family of Nora Ann. Moving on to other local stories. The Department of Environment has activated the National Open Burning Action Plan and the National Haze Action Plan following the worsening haze problem in East Malaysia. Its Director General Nurlin Jaafar said this after the air quality levels in Miri and Kuala Baram, Sarawak hit a hazardous level and a very unhealthy level respectively over the past 2 days. Nurlin said directives under the Environmental Quality Act have been issued to all landowners in the peat soil areas of Kuala Baram to prevent and control fires there. She added, measures have been taken to address the haze in Sarawak, including stepping up enforcement against open burning and other activities that can aggravate the situation. Air quality in Miri hit as high as 395 on the Air Pollution Index API on Tuesday morning, before easing to 332 as at 7 p.m., while the API reading in Kuala Baram was recorded at 262. The rest of the country had moderate API readings, including Johan Setia Selangor, which previously hit an unhealthy level of 126. The Prime Minister on Tuesday warned that there were provisions in the law to deal with those who kept instigating the people. With reference to Chinese education group Dongzong, Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said it would be violating the country's laws if it kept inciting people to fight each other. He said police will now determine whether or not to outlaw the group.
Now, if he keeps on stimulating inciting people to fight against each other, of course that's going against the law. We have freedom of speech, but we are always sensitive about not instigating people to different races to fight each other. But Dongzong is only talking about one community, forgetting that this is a multiracial country.
Would you agree that Dongzong be banned?
I don't know yet. That's for the police to decide.
So that's a statement from your cabinet minister.
Dr. Mahathir spoke to the media after attending the Kuala Lumpur International Airport's 21st anniversary in Sepang, Selangor. He was asked to comment on a petition calling for the government to ban Dongzong as a racist organisation. Bersatu Youth plans to send the online petition to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and the Prime Minister once it achieves 100,000 signatures. The online petition comes in the wake of a petition launched by Dongzong on Monday to oppose the teaching of Jawi calligraphy in vernacular schools. At a separate function, Tun Dr. Mahathir expressed his embarrassment over the dirty and foul-smelling public toilets, which reflect the country's lack of civic-mindedness. The Prime Minister stressed that failure to adopt civic-mindedness would lead to individuals behaving with impunity.
Saya amat malu kerana saya seringkali membuat inspection toilet-toilet di Malaysia. Nak tengok bersih ataupun tidak, biasanya tak bersih dan busuk. Itu mencerminkan sifat yang ada kepada kita. Sepatutnya kita berasa malu. Tetapi kita berpendapat tak ada orang akan tahu siapa yang buat apa. Ini disebabkan oleh tidak ada perasaan civic responsibility, tanggungjawab civic dalam hati kita.
He said this when launching the national level civic education in Putrajaya on Tuesday. Tun Dr. Mahathir also said civic education was important as it would help inculcate good values and ways to be better citizens in children. He also expressed his hope that civic education would mold individuals and society to be responsible, concerned and considerate to all. Civic education was reintroduced in June and has been incorporated into Bahasa Melayu, English, Islamic education, moral education and history. The Inland Revenue Board, IRB, contended that Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak must pay back the 1.69 billion ringgit tax he owes the tax body regardless of his appeal for tax reassessment. This is according to IRB's affidavit in support with Section 103 of the Income Tax Act 1967. IRB Monitoring Unit Assistant Director Hishamuddin Muhammad Hassan in an affidavit said the Act clearly states that the computed tax must still be paid whether or not the person is appealing against the assessment. He also affirmed that the tax assessment, which is due, has to be paid upon service of the assessment notices. The affidavit was filed in support of an application for a summary judgment of a suit filed by IRB on behalf of the government against the former Prime Minister to recover 1.69 billion ringgit in tax assessments from the year 2011 to 2017. Hishamuddin had, in the affidavit filed on August 8th, also said that Datuk Seri Najib, who was also former Finance Minister, did not have any defence with merit against the suit. According to the affidavit, Hishamuddin said since the assessment notices had been served properly on Datuk Seri Najib, it meant that the former Prime Minister was well informed about it, and therefore the tax liability had become a debt that must be paid by him. Hishamuddin had also said, pursuant to the government's right to initiate a suit to recover the tax arrears under Section 106, subsection 3 of the Act, the court does not need to entertain Datuk Seri Najib's pleas that the tax amount was excessive, incorrectly assessed, or still pending appeal. In the summary judgment application filed by IRB, besides the 1.69 billion ringgit, it is also seeking for an annual interest of 5% on the sum from the date of judgment until the date of realization, cost and other relief deemed fit by the court. Datuk Seri Najib had on August 8th filed an application to stay the proceedings of this suit pending his appeal on his tax reassessment. And continuing on to the Datuk Seri Najib's SRC trial. A senior Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission officer gave details of how some main individuals involved in the SRC International Sdn Bhd case, including Low Tek Joe, or better known as Jolo, fled the country from 2015. Senior Assistant Commissioner Rosli Hussain also outlined efforts which had been taken to trace the fugitives, who included 4 close associates of Low and also SRC International Chief Executive Officer Nik Faisal Arif Kamil. Testifying at the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Tuesday, Rosli said the efforts included putting the main individuals on the immigration blacklist and also listing their names on the Interpol Red Notice. He said the Red Notice was put up in several places where the fugitives were believed to be hiding, including Hong Kong, Macau, Thailand, Indonesia, Myanmar and China. The 57th prosecution witness, who started investigations into the abuse of SRC international funds since July 6, 2015, said Low left the country on May 29, 2015 through the Sultan Abdul Aziz Shah Airport in Subang. However, it was not disclosed where the billionaire, who also holds a St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship, had flown to. Rosli said MACC did get to talk to Low once, and it happened in Abu Dhabi. He said Low had then given his commitment to return to Malaysia and cooperate in the case. However, Rosli testified that Low failed to keep his promise, and MACC has been looking for him since. Rosli added that MACC had searched for Low in his last known address in Tanjung Bunga, Pulau Pinang, but could not locate him or his family. MACC, he added, had also managed to talk to Nik Faisal and recorded his statements twice. Rosli said Nik had too pledged to return to help in the investigations, but he never did. He also confirmed that MACC had also tried to locate Low's associates, Terence Geh Cho Heng, Eric Tan Kim Lung, Casey Tang Keng Chi, and Jasmine Lu Ai Swan, who all left the country in 2015 and in May last year. He said arrest warrants had been issued against all of them, and assistance was sought from Interpol to locate them. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib's corruption trial involving One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB will commence on Monday next week. This is after federal court upheld the Court of Appeal's decision to reject an application to review the Kuala Lumpur High Court decision not to allow the postponement of 1MDB trial. In a unanimous ruling, Chief Justice Datuk Sri Tengku Maimun Tuan Mat said there was no error on the ruling made by the appellate court. On August 5th, the Court of Appeal dismissed the appeal filed by both prosecution and defence teams. The prosecution team, led by Attorney General Tommy Thomas, said they wanted to postpone the 1MDB trial until they finish with Datuk Sri Najib's ongoing SRC International Sdn Bhd corruption trial. On June 21st, the AG had also applied for a postponement of the 1MDB trial, stating that Datuk Sri Najib's SRC International trial was moving slower than expected. The SRC International trial was earlier expected to be concluded this month. On September 20th last year, Datuk Sri Najib was charged with 25 corruption counts involving 2.28 billion ringgit of 1MDB money. The Social Security Organization, or SOCSO, has started issuing compounds to those who fail to register under Self-Employment Social Security Scheme. Its Chief Executive, Datuk Sri Dr. Muhammad Azman Aziz Muhammad, said only 50,801 self-employed workers have registered and contributed to the scheme as of Tuesday.
Angka ini jauh daripada jumlah yang sepatutnya mendaftar. Jadi mulai pada minggu ini, pegawai-pegawai penguatkuasa pekesok akan keluar untuk mengesan dan mungkin kita akan mula mengeluarkan kompaun kepada pemandu-pemandu yang masih belum berdaftar. Saya ingin tekankan sekali lagi, bukan hasrat pekesok menyusahkan pemandu ataupun pemandu teksi atau pemandu e-hailing, tapi ini adalah untuk melihat kebajikan mereka dan keluarga mereka.
Datuk Sri Dr. Azman said there are about 300,000 registered taxi and e-hailing drivers nationwide. Under the law, those found guilty of not registering with SOCSO can be fined up to 10,000 ringgit or sentenced to jail or both. He noted that 149 drivers who contributed to the scheme were able to receive benefits. There have been 12 deaths recorded among its contributors, and SOCSO has been paying their families in the form of retirement funds or payments on a monthly basis. Petronas Chemicals Group Berhad's earnings slipped to 1.1 billion ringgit in the second quarter ended June 30th, 2019, from 1.4 billion ringgit a year ago. This was recorded after revenue dropped 8% to 4.3 billion ringgit in the same period amid declining crude oil price and softer market demand. Petchem said the weaker revenue was largely due to lower product prices, partially offset by higher sales volume and the weakening of ringgit against the US dollar. The company said it will continue to be primarily influenced by global environments, currency rate movements, facility utilization rate, and petrochemical product prices. This is in view of their high correlation to the crude oil price, particularly for the group's olefins and derivatives segment. Guns seized in multiple raids in Sabah. This and more home stories after the breather. Welcome back. The Sabah police seized 17 rifles and 5 pistols in a number of raids in Ranau recently. Sabah Assistant Police Commissioner Datuk Zaini Jas said except for 2, the rest were homemade guns. 8 suspects were also detained in the 2-day operation, which began on August 6.
Setakat ini, Bidu yang umur 14 tahun itu mengaku telah menjual 150 laras senapang senjata api jenis berkakuk dengan harga di antara RM800 sehingga RM2,800.
Police also seized a total of 612 bullets from the suspects. The case is being investigated under Section 7 of the Arms Act 1971, bracket heavier penalties, which provides for the death sentence or life imprisonment upon conviction. In Johor, a senior citizen was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment and 10 strokes of the rotan for raping and sodomizing his 9-year-old stepdaughter. Judge Zahila Muhammad Yusuf meted out the sentences on Tuesday after the accused pleaded guilty at the Kota Tinggi Sessions Court in Johor on May 23rd. According to court filings, the victim's mother, who is also the wife of the accused, had lodged a police report upon discovering the latter's despicable act in May. The victim was then brought to the Sultan Ismail Hospital in Johor Bahru for medical examination and treatment. In Malacca, an ambulance was raised in the front section 1 minute after transferring a patient from the emergency unit to Ward E at the Malacca Hospital on Tuesday. According to the State Fire and Rescue Department Public Relations Officer, Soon Wee Kiang, the ambulance driver had tried to put out the flame using a fire extinguisher and nearby hose before the fire engine arrived. However, there was no loss of lives or injuries reported, and the fire was put out at about 8:29 a.m. with the assistance of 16 firefighters from Jalan Kubu station. The cause of the fire is still under investigation. Meanwhile, a used clothing warehouse in Rawang, Selangor was razed to the ground in an overnight fire incident which started on Monday afternoon. It took more than 30 firefighters from 7 fire stations to battle the blaze, which was completely extinguished on Tuesday morning. Earlier, their efforts were slowed down by the hot, dry weather, coupled with flammable items stored in the building in Bukit Sentosa. Investigations are still underway to determine the cause of the fire and total amount of losses incurred. Death toll from Indian monsoon flood rises to more than 200. We'll be right back. We're back with the foreign news. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Brexit plans could be blown off course early next month after a Scottish judge agreed to fast-track a hearing on whether he can legally suspend the British Parliament to force through a no-deal exit. The bid, backed by more than 70 MPs and peers, was filed at the Court of Session in Edinburgh, urging the court to rule that it would be unlawful and unconstitutional for the Prime Minister to prorogue Parliament so that the UK can leave the EU without a deal. Judge Lord Raymond Doherty agreed to expedite the timetable for the legal challenge to take place, setting the date for the substantive hearing on September 6. Doherty, however, rejected the campaigners' attempts to have the whole hearing before one court to speed up the process. Campaigners wanted proceedings to get underway as soon as possible, as time is running out before the current Brexit Halloween deadline, which is now only 79 days away. Over in India, the death toll from the monsoon floods have climbed to 202 people on Tuesday as heavy rainfall kept pounding coastal regions in the west and south, prompting authorities to move more than 1.2 million people to relief camps. The southern state of Kerala has been the worst hit region for the second consecutive year, with the highest death toll of 88 people. A red alert has also been issued for 3 districts in Kerala on Tuesday, as extremely heavy rains are expected. The alert was issued for Alappuzha, Ernakulam and Idukki on Tuesday, and in northern districts of Malappuram and Kozhikode on Wednesday. Authorities also warned that the death toll will rise as crews continue to search flooding debris and collapsed buildings. And that sports item wraps up Nightline this time around.